everybody. At the sound of the James Bond theme song, it must be time to begin the SongBike Guitar Q&A live stream here on YouTube. My name is Jonathan. How are you? Happy Saturday, wherever you are. I know for some of you it's turning into Sunday. I see some questions in the chat right away. We're going to get to those in a second. I love the early questions. A lot to do today in no particular order. We got a poll question. Do you analyze your favorite guitar players, or do you just listen for inspiration, or somewhere in between? Go ahead and answer that question in the chat there. Got my own dumb question of the week. Got a couple of tough love segments, things I want to say to you. A little tough love. Weekly teaching features. We got three and a half WTFs. WTF, the weekly teaching feature. We got 3.5 of those, maybe 4. I got a do you know? Do you know Vic Flick? We're going to talk about Vic Flick today. Segment I call Should I Sell Out? A segment I call Who's in Town? Of course, we have a virtual play-along song tonight. It's a good one. I can't wait to do it with you guys. So let's get right into it. Question right off the bat. Barry had a great question. If you only had one tip for better strumming, what would it be? Barry, I'm glad you asked, because this is actually one of the tough love segments. It's hard to narrow it down to just one thing, but because one of the first things that comes to mind is also one of the tough love segments, here's my number one picking tip, strumming tip. You ready? Hold the pick looser. Looser, looser, looser. If you're talking about this type of general, sort of folky, general acoustic strumming, that kind of sound, no fancy bass note runs, no crazy hammer-ons, something like that. Especially if you want that sound, you have to hold the pick looser. You should hold it so loosely that either you drop the pick way more than you'd like to drop the pick, or almost as bad, the pick rotates in your fingertips a little bit as you're playing. If either one of those things happen to you, congratulations. You're doing something right. You're holding the pick loosely. Whatever you do, don't overcorrect. Hold the pick a little bit tighter, a little bit, just so it doesn't rotate. Only a little bit tighter. That's my number one answer to your question. Whatever kind of strumming you want to do. And in general, in guitar playing, in general, you want to, I'm not saying hold the pick loosely for every song and every riff you ever do the rest of your life, but you sure want to be aware of how much you're squeezing the pick and the effect it has on the overall sound, and the effect that it has on the tension in your arm. Hold the pick looser. You won't regret it. I can't tell you how common it is for me to be working with a student and they're doing everything I'm asking them to do. They're downs, ups, hitting certain strings, changing chords. And the final step is getting them to just relax, and it's a game changer. It sounds so much better. But hey, look, if that's the only thing that is missing in the only missing piece of your puzzle, that's a great thing. It takes a little while to get used to it, because think about it. I'm asking you to relinquish control of the pick. What? That's crazy, right? But yeah, you hold the pick looser. You're letting go a little bit, literally. If you follow my advice and you drop the pick, blame me. If you follow my advice and the pick rotates, blame me. And then stop blaming me and hold the pick 1% tighter. Barry, not only will that get you a better sound, it'll just be more relaxing. You'll feel less stressed out about the whole thing. It does not matter what kind of pick you're using. Don't assume that using a more flexible pick will make up for what I'm talking about. Nope. I've heard people squeeze a very thin pick too tightly and get the same abrasive sound. So the pick is not the problem, And Barry, let me think. If I were to throw in a number 2, because this is a subject near and dear to my heart. If I were to throw in a second thing, runner-up for better strumming, that's not directly related to this or indirectly related to this. Let go of the notion that just because a chord allows you to strum many or all the strings, that you must strum all the strings, either going down or going up. E minor, for example. Check this out. I'm gonna strum all 6 strings down and up. Doesn't sound bad, right? Now I'm gonna mostly hit the heavier strings on the way down and the lighter, skinnier strings on the way up. A little more nuanced, right? Now, I can't directly teach you how to only hit, say, 3 or 4 fat strings on the way down, and I can't exactly teach you how to only hit 3 or 4 or even 2 or even 1 treble string on the way up. I'm just planting the seed in your head that that's what you've heard. Much of the time you've heard guitar strumming. What you have not heard is strumming the maximum number of strings down and up. I'm not saying you've never heard it, but not as often as you think. If I were doing a different chord, say like a D major chord, D like dynamite, obviously, the traditional way to strum a D chord, 4 treble strings only, but it still applies. I might only hit some of the strings on the way down, and it's almost like you're hitting the remaining strings on the way back up. So just to recap, I'm not saying you're never allowed to hit the maximum number of strings down or up, but let go of that as being mandatory. Okay, that's my follow-up to a great question. And Bruce, I saw a question from YouTube. Bruce and Byron from Sydney, Australia. Hey, you guys, good day. Bruce says, Jonathan, do you practice skills more or working through songs to build skills? Oh, that's the question. Right? That's the question. That's, what do you do? What do you do? You got to find a balance. And the balance is, I'll tell you what I do, but forget what I do for a moment. The balance is determined by what you want to get out of this thing. Are you going to be playing at an open mic night in 2 weeks? Okay, well, songs, like, you want to get your songs ready to go. Doesn't mean you stop practicing scales or arpeggios or something, but when you make a commitment to yourself or to your audience, yeah, that's different. Then again, if it gives you pleasure just to let go of the outside world and work on some beautiful exercises, and your mind just gets into that mode and that makes you happy, then how great is that, man? How great is that? So you want to find a balance between those two things. And sometimes, you make a commitment, so the scales weigh in the direction of songs, for example. So now what do I do? Oh man. I definitely do both. The question is, do I practice skills more or working through songs to build the skills? I definitely do a balance of both. In general, the number one reason I play any new songs, it's learning them either with a student or for a student. For my own pleasure, I rarely just crack open a book and say, oh, I'm going to learn, or watch a video and say, oh, I'm going to learn such and such a song. I just, that's not where my time is spent nowadays. But I'll do that with a student, to learn a song a student wants. So left to my own devices, I definitely practice skills more. Scales up and down the neck, arpeggios up and down the neck, different warm-up exercises. Yeah, I personally do that more. But it's all about finding a balance. Learning songs for my students, that balances out the skill stuff I do for myself. There's no right or wrong, unless you've made a commitment and you get distracted and then showtime arrives and you're not prepared to do what you committed you were going to do, right? So then that's different. Other than that, whatever makes you happy, And speaking as a guitar teacher, if I hear that my students just played guitar all week at home and whatever they did, it's a step in the right direction. Whether they did the exact homework I hope they would do, I've had plenty of times where students say to me, I I didn't do what you asked me exactly, but I was writing a song, learning this thing from YouTube, going back over this old thing we did. I couldn't stop playing it, all the above. That's not a bad day for me as a teacher, you know. Keep those fretting fingers moving. That's the main thing, you know. So Bruce, I hope I answered your question. I'm going to say a few hellos. Hey, David, thank you for your super chat. I appreciate that. A super chat is how you can support this live stream. It's that $ icon at the bottom of the chat. Okay. I'm going to say a few hellos, and then Purple Pie Man, I will get to your excellent question. Hello to Matt. Hello to Barry. Hello, Bruce and Byron. M Fish, stick around because we talked about Boogie Blues. And somehow I didn't do it last week like I promised. This is the week. We're going to get to some more Boogie Blues examples as part of our weekly teaching feature, WTF weekly teaching feature during this live stream. Hello, David. Hello, William. Rock Lobster. Hello. Purple Pie Man has a great question. Purple Pie Man says, I used to write some decent tunes, so I decided to learn theory. Now writing using theory makes all my tunes sound super generic. Any advice? Interesting. I wonder if it's because you're aware of the, quote, rules, and you're less likely to do something that you think violates the rules that you're learning, you know? I mean, that actually might violate the rules you're learning. And so, you know, G, E minor, C, D, right? And G, E minor, C, D, but you'd hypothetically think yourself, well, I would never play G, E major, C, D, or something like that, right? Because it's not a diatonic chord. Yeah, A to Z Me says there are no rules. Well, that's true. That's true. Although as a teacher, that's not super helpful advice for me as a teacher to communicate that. Even though as a creative human being, yeah, I whether it's by my own trial or error or just learning other people's songs, I realize, oh man, there's no rules. These people do whatever they want, and you know, as long as it sounds good, it is good. And it's fun to learn conventional stuff and then twist it around, and then you find out that you're not the first person to break that rule, but that's fine too. That's all right. Okay, so getting back to Purple Pie Man specifically, I'm guessing because in my opinion, songwriting often revolves around the group of chords that you're choosing from. I'm going to project here for a minute, and I'm going to guess that you are using conventional, normal chord groups, sequences, and your songs all have that conventional kind of sound because the chords are not pushing the melody to do anything it wouldn't have done anyways. So let me think of a way I can, because it's a great question. Well, interesting the way you describe it. You say you're writing songs using theory, which is not a bad thing. Like say knowing that C, A minor, going to D minor, going to G7. C, A minor, D minor, G7 is a classic chord progression. 1, 6, 2, 5 in the key of G. Okay, so I'm going to use that as an example, although I want to give you more than just an example. If you change what I just said to C, A7, D7, G7, I changed the two minor chords to being seventh chords. You're going to get a different vibe. Here's the C, A7, D7, G7. One more time. C, C to A to D7 to G7. Kind of a ragtime chord progression, not hard chords, right? A7 instead of A minor, D7 instead of D minor. Now, whether or not you love that chord progression, because it's not diatonic, it's not supposed to be A7 or D7, because it's not diatonic, it's going to push you a little bit, you know. But I'm going back to, I want to give you some principles to work with, not just an example. Here's another idea. Steal someone else's chord progression. Any kind of music, as long as it's chords, as long as it contains chords that you are comfortable with. So let's say you don't love country music, or let's say you don't love 70s folky rock or something. Doesn't matter. Go in and steal one of their chord progressions, especially if the chord progression is not one that would have occurred to you. Steal it right now, and then write something that appeals to you using that chord progression. You can do that for sure. That can get you out of I don't want to call it a rut, because there's nothing wrong with writing, songs that chord progressions that work. Here's another one. Something I believe in. Will this? Yeah, this will work for you. I think. Get away from the guitar and work on your melodies without the guitar in your hands. What I've done, I remember like it was yesterday. I made a C to F loop. Is it 4 counts, I guess? Doesn't matter, but for our purposes, say 4 counts. Does not have to be C going to F. For those of you who do not care for the C chord, how about, the F chord? Let's do A to D. Now, A and D are it's an extremely conventional chord change. If we consider A as the 1 chord, if we're in the key of A, if we just make that arbitrary decision, then D would be known as the 4 chord. So it's a 1/4 chord key change in the key of A. Okay, now, even though that's a conventional chord change, how can you come up with a melody that maybe isn't generic, right? Because I've been talking about chords. Of course, the melody is the song, right? Okay. Make a loop. Either record yourself on your phone if you have a looper, make a loop. Then put your guitar away and stand up, walk around the room while the chords are playing over and over again. Do not touch your guitar. Let the loop go, right? Start humming along, sing along, doing anything, but pay strict attention to these ideas that are coming up in your imagination. I bet you an apple cider that if you take my advice and do that, what I just said, you'll come up with a melody that you would not have come up with if you actually held the guitar and strummed an A chord and then a D chord and back to A chord. It sounds generic. I think I don't like this very much. It's a little too boring. You'd have to have great lyrics or a great voice, because this is not, okay, you get the idea, right? So it's worked for me in the sense that I have come up with melodic ideas I wouldn't have come up with otherwise, including even sometimes singing notes, staying on notes, singing notes for several beats that aren't even in either one of those chords. But I don't know, something about not strumming the guitar frees up my brain a little bit. So there's another idea that doesn't rely on oddball chords, but I think it can get your melodic imagination going. So to recap, for kicks, instead of C, A minor, D minor, G7, C, A7, D7, G7. That's not an intuitive chord progression that someone would just come up with, unless you're really into sort of that ragtimey kind of sound. More generally, steal someone else's chord progression. Find one that doesn't look right, quote, quote, and steal it. I mean, especially if it's a hit song, it was right enough to make a hit song out of it. And then thirdly, don't worry about the chords, but get your melodic ear. Get those juices flowing. I can't explain it, why you might think differently and come up with creative ideas without the guitar in your hands that you would come up with compared to what you come up with the guitar in your hands. I can't explain why, but I feel strongly about it. Hey, David, I'm reading your comment here. David says, jazz tune writers often, quote, violate music theory rules, changing a minor 3 and a bar 8 7th chord. Yep. David, I'm not going to read your whole comment, but I get the idea. Yeah. Well, jazz is, by definition, it's a more creative field. And you mentioned how they violate music theory rules, and I know where you're coming from. I would say they actually play by their own rules that go beyond what a country songwriter might use, or just a rock and roll. Although rock and roll stuff, you never know what you're going to get in a rock song. For me, once I heard good old Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana, and it wasn't just the song, it was the fact that was obviously a massive hit song. It's a chord progression that I would never have written that. Just, to me, it made no sense. Once you hear it, for a few decades, yeah. But once I heard that, I thought, okay, well, if I hadn't already given up on, following rules, I'm like, well, if the general public likes that chord progression just fine, I guess what I don't know. Somehow it broke me. Maybe that's not the best way to put it, but something to think about. I don't know. For me, that tune, I thought, well, wait a minute, that's a hit song, really? All right, what do I know? What do I know? So, anyways, jazz writers, they're following rules, but they're more advanced rules, more creative rules. But bottom line is, we all should learn as much music theory as possible, especially songwriters, and then also learn as many songs as possible, specifically the chord changes, by my way of thinking, because you'll see what's possible, and that's when you see that someone else has written a hit song or a famous song, whatever you want to call it, a classic, a standard, using a certain group of chords, then our individual opinions don't matter anymore. The public has decided that those chords can produce a classic song, and doesn't matter what any one of us think about, like, wow, they did this or they didn't do this, or it's too late. It's a hit song. Yeah, RB says, in jazz, the rule is to break all the rules. Yeah. Although, I mean, I know where you're coming from, and at the same time, yeah, RB says, if it sounds good, it is good. Yeah. There's as many rules as you want to see, and if you want to just let go and say, like, oh, that music, they're just playing crazy notes, it's crazy, and it's not for me. That's just a matter of taste. I get it. But people go to college and study this stuff down to the nth degree, and don't tell them there's no rules. Okay, so hey, let's get into our one of our weekly teaching features. How about let's get into the Boogie Blues. M. Fish, I appreciate you being here, and let's pull up. So we're going to enter the world of rhythm guitar here with Boogie Blues 101. Excellent, there it is. And my hope is that what I'm about to throw up on the screen here is not going to be super physically challenging for many of you. But I like to do a little follow-up. Okay, M. Fish, this one goes out to you. Can you see that okay? This is a PDF that will be available at my website a few hours from now, song-bike.com. Okay, so we have here 4 different Boogie Blues examples. I'm going to stop talking and just play number 1, the top line, and then I'm sure I'll have something to say. Second measure. Third measure. Okay, kind of a classic. boogie sound. Okay, so what's going on here? Please put your fretting hand in second position. That means any two you see should be done with your index finger. Bruce, thank you for your super chat donation. I appreciate that. Once you commit to second position and commit to your index finger playing all the second fret notes, you set up your middle finger to play all the third fret notes, your ring finger to play all the fourth fret notes. If there were any fives on there, you would use your pinky finger. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger because there's no reason not to. Okay, there it comes. Nice and big. There we go. Number one. Okay. Is that big enough for you? Oh, actually, there is a number 5. I take that back. Okay, so, but second position for the whole first line until that last measure. We'll talk about that 5, 6 business in a second. Notice how every measure has those two thin bar lines in between. That's how a teacher, composer, would indicate that each of these are separate exercises. It's not a song that you play all the way across. I mean, you're welcome to, but that's not the intention. The intention is to learn the first measure, learn the second measure, and here at the third measure, now let's talk about the position shift that's about to happen. 2 with the index. I'm on the A string, 2nd fret, 5th string, 2nd fret. Now, jump up. Middle finger 5 on the A string. Ring finger 6 on the A string. So you have 2 with your index, 5 with your middle, 6 with your ring. And now you're ready to finish off the 4, 4, 6, 4 with your index and ring. So technically, my fretting hand shifted from second position up to fourth position. Remember, it's named after wherever the index finger is either playing or hovering, however you want to put it. Second position, fourth position. I know it's my middle finger on 5, but see how it's named? It's called fourth position because my index finger is hovering there by the 4s. The first 2 are kind of easy. This third one, a little bit harder. Okay, everything on this page is named either E, A, or B. I decided to teach these Boogie Blues examples in the key of E. When you're in the key of E, the A sound, the A chord is a complement to the E sound of the E chord, and so is the B. Essentially, it's a 1, 4, 5 in the key of E. At this moment, the E chord, the E sound, the E riff, we call that the 1, the headquarters, home base, right? If E is the 1 chord, then by definition, A is the 4 chord and B is the 5 chord, but we're not even playing chords, I know. But the notes I am playing go a long way towards reflecting the E chord and the A chord and the B chord. Sometimes as a guitar player, you don't play chords. You play things that imply chords, suggest chords, arpeggiate chords, etc., but you're not actually playing chords. Okay, now a couple more examples. Number 2, I know I'm in the way. I'm going to scroll up here. Okay, here's number 2. Same deal. We're going to reflect an E chord, more or less. I'm going to just repeat the first measure. That's a nice boogie line right there. I'm suggesting an E chord, right? Next one, in the A version. Notice for once, I'm not talking about downs and ups. That's because you're welcome to do alternate picking, or you could do all downstrokes for a kind of consistent, almost aggressive kind of feeling. Okay, and the B version at the end of the top line. All index and ring fingers. Hey, Poopa John. And And again, this is not an entire song, but you could make a song out of those. You would just have to decide on what to do with them, right? Some assembly required. But my agenda is to introduce you guys, hopefully, to some boogie blues patterns that you hadn't done before. You know, number 3. I'm just doing the first measure of example 3. Now here I actually do encourage you to do down, up, because it kind of feels good. I mean, it always feels good, but down on the 2, up on the 6 string 0, down on the 4, up on the 6 string. I also encourage you to commit to second position again. Index plays the 2s, ring finger plays any 4 you see, pinky plays any 5, that's great. The second measure of line 3, the A example. Oh, I forgot to put the letter A above there. Now here's where it gets goofy. Love a good challenge, don't you? The third measure of example 3, the one that starts out with 4, 2, 6, 2, 7, 2, 6, 2. Can you already see what the problem is going to be? You're going to have to, way over here. You got to keep rushing back to grab that 2 on the A string. Tricky, Mickey. Okay, check it out. You know where we are, right? The third measure of example 3, the one that should have a big capital B above it, and it does not. Okay, I got my ring finger and my index finger already committed for that 4, 2. If you have a hard time stretching, number 1, practice, practice, practice. Number 2, is your thumb pointing straight up towards the ceiling? That is going to help you quite a bit. You don't have to have both of those fingers down. In a minute, you're going to have to let go of them both anyways. But ideally, you'd start off with both those fingers committed to their respective strings and frets. Now, here's where everything falls apart. You got to jump up to 6. Well, you can't. I mean, even if you could, you don't want to kill yourself stretching, having 2 down at the same time. Don't worry about it. It just means you have to jump from 6 with your, I would use pinky if I were you. You have to jump back to 2 at the 5th string. 7, jump back. 6, jump back. Okay? That's a cool challenge. And instead of killing yourself to stretch like a crazy person, challenge yourself to cleanly and clearly jump back to that. That happens to be the note B, by the way. The A string 2nd fret, that's note B. Notice my eyes are on my fretting hand. There's no way I would just be able to guess. Well, never say never, but I'm more comfortable trusting my picking hand and letting my fretting hand and giving all my attention to my fretting hand. Okay, a little bit tough, right? Okay, we're almost there. A little bit more. Example 4, last one, fast one. Ooh, yeah, example 4, you can totally do this one. No worries. Example 4. For the fun of it, I'm going to give it a straight feel instead of that swing or shuffle feel. What's that Led Zeppelin song that has that? Led Zeppelin makes me crazy because, you know, half of every Led Zeppelin song, half of their catalog, the title of the song doesn't match the lyric. I don't know. The second measure of example 4. By the way, I'm doing all down strokes to get that kind of aggressive, consistent, kind of rock and roll sound. First 2 measures are kind of easy. I actually would recommend, I think I was using my ring finger. I wish I'd use my pinky instead, because that's what I'm going to encourage you to do. Whatever you do, that 4, either use your ring or pinky. Do not use your index or middle for the 4th fret. Put your ring and pinky to work. Okay, now here's where it gets good. the very last thing of the whole page. What a cool workout there. Okay. You know what I'm talking about? The last 8 notes. Please use your middle finger on the B note, 5th string, 2nd fret, middle finger. And the rest, the fingers just fall into line. 1 with your index, 2 with your middle, 3 with your ring, 4 with your pinky. What a cool workout. Just playing that as an exercise gives your picking hand, your fretting hand a great workout. Okay, there you go. Boogie Blues 101. Everything that you just saw is all on this one PDF, and that PDF will be available very, very, very soon on my website. M-Fish, does that work for you? Hey, Poopa John says, what happened to the top side of your guitar? Or what hasn't happened to this guitar? What it needs is a bath. This is a beautiful, beautiful instrument. It was well loved before I got it. A present from a friend. A Harmony Sovereign. The Harmony name has been around for a long, long, long time. Not all Harmony guitars are created equal. This is one of the good ones from long, long, long time ago. It's big. It's bigger than a jumbo. I don't know what they were thinking making such a big guitar, but I love it. A great guitar. I don't know the date. Replacement bridge, replacement pick guard, but by some miracle, the tuning machines are still original. How is that even possible? At least as far as I know, they're original. They sure seem nice and old. I fully expect to have to replace them soon, someday. I don't know. They're hanging in there. Okay. How are we doing? Good? All right. Let's bang out a couple of things. My own dumb question of the week. I ask it so you don't have to. Is there anything non-musical that helps play the guitar? Anything? Can you do something to make yourself a better guitar player that doesn't involve playing the guitar? You know, it's a dumb question. Just play the guitar. But, you know, what if you're stuck in traffic? Is there anything you can do? How about those, anybody use those squeezy things? You know, those little finger strengtheners, right? You can buy different colors, and the different colors have different tension, different friction. You know, anybody do those? You're stuck in traffic and you squeeze those up and down. I have never, if I ever did it, it wasn't something I purchased and then pursued. It's a dumb question, but when I gave it some thought, I came up with one thing. If there's something non-musical you can do to make yourself a better guitar player, typing, I mean real, adult typing, where you're using, I guess all 10 fingers, whatever real professional, honest to goodness, real typists do, the kind where you can type and not look, that would be a great thing to pursue. Even if you were just doing like an online game, I'm sure there's typing games, right? I'm sure there's tons of them. Even if it didn't make you a significantly better typist, just pursuing something like that, I think that would definitely give you a workout that is not so different from playing the guitar. I know. Any other ideas? Let us know in the chat. Can you think of a non-musical thing that we all could be doing that would make us better guitar players? Now, I'm not talking about, I guess I'm talking about like little physical activities. I'm not talking about studying music theory. That is definitely something we all should do, and it will make us a better musicians. I'm talking about, non-musical, quirky stuff. What do you think? M-Fish, I'm reading your comment here. Yeah, M-Fish, you're talking about, listening to the songs as you learn them with like the Suzuki method. Yeah, we're going to get to that. One of the other weekly teaching features tonight, I call it the ultimate, the ultimate ear training trick, but the subtitle is One String to Rule Them All. Lord of the Rings, one string to rule them all. Thought that was kind of funny. Poopa John says, squeeze a tennis ball. Yeah, why not, man? And Fish says, last summer I built some rock walls that made my fingers tougher and stronger. Oh, interesting. Okay, RB is talking about the thing where you roll the balls in your hand. Yeah, I've seen that. Ruith says, Lord of the Strings. Yeah, we're going to get to that in a moment. We'll get to that. One string to rule them all. Okay, so there's the dumb question of the week. Is it a dumb question? Not really, kind of. I know. Playing the guitar that's how we get good at playing the guitar. But is there anything else we can do? Anything? Don't forget to vote in the poll. The poll question of the night. Do you analyze your favorite guitar players, or do you just listen and enjoy, or some combination in between? I'm curious. Hey, my son is probably wrapping up his first college swim meet of this season. Son, I love you. I hope you had a great meet. I look forward to hearing all about it. And I wish you a great season. And I can't wait to see you again. Okay. Speaking of family, my wife is often in the chat. Music fan 1004, sweetie, thanks for being here. Thanks for moderating. My mom is often watching. Hi, Mom. Hope you're well. Okay. Should I sell out? Not many offers this week, so keep it short. Some of the offers are so vague that I don't know how to describe them, but I was offered a tool for better sound, whatever. And also Wayfair reached out. Any Wayfair fans out there? Wayfair reached out and wants to collaborate. So I can sell you Wayfair and make them richer. Now, when I say they reached out, it's not what it sounds like. It's a very generic. All these things are extremely generic emails that with extremely generic compliments on my content and my ability. And yeah, so I wish I could frame it like, Wayfair won't stop calling me. No, it's these offers that I get could not be more generic. So let's move on. Ruith has a good question. Is it bad to practice on a high action guitar? Yes. Yep. So then again, in the short term, all you have is what you have, right? But as soon as possible, you want to bring it to a guitar tech or a luthier and have them adjust it so it's within factory specifications. Some people like the action a little bit high. Some people like it a little bit, most people like it a little bit on the low side, right? Low enough, but not so low that the strings buzz against the frets and the fretboard. Yeah, you don't want to work harder than you have to. You could potentially even hurt yourself a little bit, stress out your hand a little bit. So if possible, you want to check in with someone as soon as possible and get it adjusted. The only exception is if you are pursuing slide guitar. Slide guitar, you often want the strings to be a little bit higher so that the weight of the slide doesn't bang the strings against the frets and create unwanted noise, So that's an exception. But hey, any of you who want to pursue slide guitar, you want to get yourself a separate guitar that can be your high action slide guitar. And there you go. Spend a little extra money. Why not? Randy is checking in from Colorado. Hey, Randy, hope you had a good rehearsal tonight. Good to have you. Okay, so we're going to check it off. Who's in town this week? I'm going to put links to both of these, actually 3 acts that are coming through my town. If they're coming through my town, they might be coming through your town. Tonight, actually, James Montgomery, and joined also by Sean Chambers and the Savoy Brown Rhythm Section. I'm going to put links to James Montgomery live in concert and a link to Sean Chambers live in concert. I'll put those links in the description of this live stream so you can see what these two guys are up to. If they're on tour and they're touring around here, maybe they're coming through your neck of the woods, and an a cappella group that sounds fantastic, a group from Queens, New York, called Naturally 7. In the description of this live stream, I'm going to put a link to them doing the Coldplay song, the Fix You song by Coldplay, but doing it a cappella. And every sound you hear might sound like a musical instrument, but it's actually one of their voices, and it's so cool. The group is called Naturally 7, and they are on tour. They've been around since 1999. That's a lot of years, quarter of a century, and so they got to be doing something right. So check out the link in the description of this live stream when the live stream is all done, and keep your eyes open for Naturally 7. Very cool stuff. Okay, check. Let's learn something else. Why not? Ooh, okay, here's one. The Universal Riff Revisited. It was one of my in-person students. We were talking about the Universal Riff, and I'll remind you what that is in case you're not sure. Don't worry about it. And they said, are there others that relate to this? And I thought, well, there sure should be. Okay, I'm going to make this bigger. Hold on to your hat. It's going to get larger. Boom, 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 boom. Whoa, is that big? Too big? Yeah, maybe a little bit too big. Holy cow. Okay, there you go. Okay, so this is a one-pager. We're going to bang through this, but it's easy peasy. The Universal Riff, as illustrated at the top of the page. My middle finger, see how it says middle slide? Index, middle finger slides back, open string, and then I'm choosing to strum an E major chord. Now, don't worry, I'll walk you through this more in a second, but I'm just going to stop talking and just play that top line a few times in a row. I'm bound and determined to keep my left hand in the shot here. Okay, so classic sound, right? If that reminds you of 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 tunes, yeah, you've heard this riff plenty of times. See how the 4 has a little diagonal slash right before it? That means a quick slide up to 4 from a lower number. Doesn't matter which lower number because it's a fast slide. The initial sound gets lost because the slide up to 4 is so fast. You can keep that middle finger down. You don't have to. You could lift it off. 3 on the second string with the index finger. Now I'm putting my finger back down on the 3rd string, 4th fret, and I'm going to do a quick slide down to 2 and then the open 3rd string. So I coined the term universal riff because that riff leads to almost every chord, or you could resolve that riff with almost any chord, not just E major. How about A minor? A minor works. How about G? It's universal. Okay, that's my little clickbait title for this, the Universal Riff. Oh, by the way, the Universal Riff is one of many things featured in my Hal Leonard publication, Easy Guitar Chord and Lead Tricks by me, Jonathan Kiyu, available at my website, song-bike.com. Get yourself a copy of Easy Guitar Chord and Lead Tricks, published by Hal Leonard Publications. It's got the Universal Riff in there and lots of other cool stuff. Okay, back to line 2. Okay, so line 1 is the premise. When a student said to me, "Hey, are there any other universal riffs?" I thought, well, yeah, man, of course, you know. So watch out though. 100% recommend the ring finger now. Looking at line 2 here. My ring finger did a quick slide on the 4th string, on the D string, D like Delta. I'm starting at the 2nd fret. Doesn't matter. Could start at the 3rd fret. Could even start at the 1st fret. The 2nd fret just seems kind of reasonable. Does not matter which fret you start on. What matters is that you end on the 4. If your ring finger feels kind of wobbly, like it's not capable of maintaining that good grip and that good pressure, then good. Then you need to do this more than anyone. You'll get there. I can remember the days when my ring finger felt incapable of maintaining that nice stiff kind of pressure, and I can remember when I got my musculature together, tendons, ligaments, whatever's going on there, and I could maintain that nice stiff kind of curve to my finger. Okay, so I'm resolving this on the G major chord. See those big letter G's there at the end? Those slash marks with the stem coming down, that's a quick and easy conventional way to indicate a chord strum as opposed to an individual string, okay? There's the name up above, G, and that slash mark. That's just a quick, easy way to communicate strumming a G chord. You don't have to finish up in a G chord. How about finishing up in a D chord, D like delta? How about an E minor? See how universal these are? Now, it's possible that you'll do any one of these riffs and you'll choose to resolve to some chord and you won't like how it sounds. Doesn't mean that more often than not you will like how it sounds, because there's this universality going on here. That's my term for it anyways. But yes, results may vary a little bit. It resolves nicely to the G chord. Okay, line 3 actually is going to the D chord. See how similar line 2 and line 3 are? It's the same riff. Line 2 starts off, well, it involves the D and G strings, delta and golf. Line 3 involves the A and D strings, alpha and delta. Now I'll say it one more time. The chords I put at the end of each of these lines were not the only possibility, but to my ear, it works out pretty well. Okay, scrolling. We got 2 more. We got a bunch more. Okay, I'm going to scroll up. And again, this is a PDF that you can get on my website, or it will be available very soon on my website. Check out the one at the top of the page now. All of these involve the ring and the index. At least that's what I recommend. Just to keep things interesting, line 2 right there, the one that resolves the A minor chord. What makes this a little bit interesting to my ear is it's the 2 skinny strings, right? Little trebly. By the way, the riff ends with my index finger. I recommend that we all put our index finger on the 2nd string, 1st fret. And that's right where it needs to be for the A minor chord. So whatever you do, don't lift that index finger off of the 1st fret and then, waste energy putting it back down for the A minor chord. Everything we've done, these past bunch of examples, in fact, every example except the first one, it's all ring finger sliding. And I'll say it one more time. If your ring finger does not feel confident sliding, perfect. Then you are the perfect candidate for this. Yeah, every example except the very first one, every example, it's the ring finger sliding back and forth and the index finger playing the other note. Okay, and last one, reversing things. Skinny string. We got a slide on the skinny string and then a slide backwards on the 2nd string. There we go. Okay, a lot going on here, right? Now, When are you ever going to use this stuff? It's a fair question. Write your own song, and especially the moments where the singing stops, but you got a couple more strums to sort of fill out the form before the next thing happens, say like a lead into the chorus, put in one of these riffs, you know. Secondarily, you could actually use this riff as part of the song. I'm going to do that bottom one. Da, 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 da. So drinking cider, you guys know I got my apple cider right here, right? So what if my song is actually drinking cider and talking to my friends? I was drinking cider, hope it never ends. I was drinking cider. Okay, I don't know. I saw a very cool thing. Speaking of dumb ideas for songs, Paul McCartney talking about songwriting and talking about, you know, daring. He used the word to dare, daring to do something dumb just to get started, and stick with it. Do the dumb thing a few times, stick with it, and then start doing your best to make little changes to make it sound a little bit better. And it was so cool. I don't know. It looked like it might have been from the 1980s. Could even have been from the 70s. He was on, I think, a British talk show. You know, like a lot of you, I'm a big Beatles fan. I have the utmost respect for Paul McCartney. And it's just so fun for him he was sitting on a piano and just improvising a song. And, you know, being Paul McCartney, the song didn't sound as dumb as that song about cider. But you know, he used it as an example, like, hey, here's a dumb little thing, you know, but I'm daring to let myself do that dumb thing because he has faith and several decades of experience turning the dumb thing into something better. But, you know, there's Paul McCartney doing something that he knows is kind of dumb, but he has that confidence that given time and trial and error, right? Your two best friends, trial and error. It can turn into something. I'll find that link and I'll post it somehow. So there you go. Okay, you guys good? I'm gonna boop. Hey, stick around. We're gonna do our virtual play along song in a minute. I'm just looking at what you guys are talking about. Dandy Dave, what were Picasso's last words? I don't know. Is that a thing? Picasso's last words? Let me know. Rock Lobster says, is it only me have a hard time keeping your thumb behind the neck? Keeps creeping up. When you say creeping up, do you mean coming around the front of the guitar this way, or going like sort of parallel to the neck? But no matter what, I have two things to say. Your thumb should go wherever you need it to go, in whatever direction, whatever, you know. You'll see plenty of times people, including me, with a thumb wrapping over like this at moments for certain things, right? Just because it's not because my thumb is doing anything. It often is not doing anything when it's up like that, but it's a very neutral position for my hand and wrist. So there's nothing wrong with the thumb doing that sometimes if that's comfortable, if it's helping, you know, or if it just feels good. And there's other times when your thumb has to be, you know, in this thing I describe as pointing up towards the ceiling, to accomplish, you know, whatever you're trying to accomplish. So number one, your thumb should be mobile, flexible, ready for anything, you know. Number two, when in doubt, have it going up towards the ceiling. And we definitely don't want it poking out this way. But the last thing I would want you to do is, I don't want your takeaway to be your thumb should always be in one position and anything else is wrong. I do not feel that way, you know. Okay, so. Okay, let's do our virtual play along song. The song that is going to get us demonetized tonight. By the way, no ads, right? You guys, no one should be seeing any ads. You guys are watching the ad-free version Because why not? Because I appreciate you guys being here. And I turn on the ads when we're all done. So if you're watching this after the fact, I understand you guys are seeing some ads. I get it. Paying the bills, yo, paying the bills. Okay, but ad free at the moment. Okay, I'm going to present it like this. Our play along song of the week. Let the demonetizing begin. Well, I can't demonetize it yet because it's not monetized, but okay. From Bob Marley, Three Little Birds, a song I did by request with a student this week. And hey, why not do it with you guys as well? If your screen goes black, don't worry. All shall be revealed. Three Little Birds, what do you need? 3 chords, 3 little chords for 3 little birds. You need A as in alpha, D as in delta, E as in excellent, echo, A, D, and E. So cool. I'm going to present this a few different ways. I'm going to ultimately, I think I'm going to return to this page you're looking at, but I'm going to present it in a few different ways. I don't think we have to talk too much about the chords, A, D, and E. I'm going to trust that you do not need me to walk you through those chords. If you are not an expert at A, D, and E, here's your inspiration. There's tons and tons of songs that will become available to you as a guitar player if you can play A, D, and E. And this is one of many, 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 many. Okay. Just to remind yourself of how the song basically goes, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be all right. Okay, you guys know this song, right? What makes this song unique is the strumming. Okay, now I'm keeping us true to the upbeat, not necessarily upstroke, but the guitar is strumming on the upbeats, not in the downbeats. This at a super slow tempo is no big deal. It's just going to sound like, but in the heat of the moment, don't worry about a thing. You're hearing my foot tapping. Every little thing gonna be all right. Now, for some of you, this is great, and for some of you, this is freaking you out a little bit. Like, wait, how do I know when to strum? You know, 2 things: stick around. I'm going to help you, and secondly, listen to the actual song. Remember, the whole point of these virtual play-alongs is to prepare you to begin working on the actual song with the actual recording. Right? That's where this is all leading. You know. By the way, we have dozens and dozens and dozens of these play-along songs. Do I have my list? We have dozens, lots and lots and lots. If you would like a list of all these virtual play-along songs that we've been doing for months and months and months and months, with the live stream number right next to it that says where you can go back and find it, send me an email. Email address is info@song-bike.com. Okay. So now, a minute ago I said I'm going to upload to my website this document, which shows a few different things. Okay, check it out. Here's a little more of a conventional presentation from a guitar teacher point of view. Actually, yeah, it is all going to be. Should it be upstrokes? I'm of 2 minds. At the moment, I'm going to say it does not matter whether you strum down or up. But it's the timing that matters. So ignore that thing. Ignore the indications about upstrokes right there. Okay. See the thing that looks like a percentage sign? The percentage sign means repeat the previous measure. I know it looks like a percentage sign. I did not invent that, but it's extremely convenient. So the intro is 4 A strums, followed by 4 more, a total of 16. Okay. So that's what you're looking at is one way of presenting the intro and the chorus and the verse along with some key lyrics. Here's another way of presenting it. This one doesn't have the intro. The intro is just strumming A chords anyways. Chorus, see, it's like that zigzag thing is like a little rest and then an A chord, rest, A chord. There's the chorus and the verse. The song happens to begin on the chorus. It doesn't begin on the verse. Nothing wrong with that. And this is the version that, unless you guys object, this is what you're gonna see on the screen when we do the song together. Partly because this presentation is how songs are so often presented online on websites such as ultimateguitar.com. So even though this is not my favorite way to present a song, maybe by doing this together, you'll feel a little bit more comfortable when you go find your favorite songs on sites like ultimateguitar.com. And all they give you is the lyrics and the names of the chords, hopefully aligned well with the lyrics. Maybe not, it's hard to tell sometimes. No indication of how to strum, and yet, you get what you pay for. Who knows? But so we're going to be looking at this. Okay, so I'm going to be doing all downstrokes. I'm going to tap my foot first. Ultimately, my foot is going to be between all my strums. I'm going to tap my foot nice and loud. Now, I know some of you, this is no big deal. If you're capable of doing this, I recommend it, especially if it feels a little bit challenging, then I definitely recommend it. Tap, strum, tap, strum. Don't worry about a thing. Every little thing. This is not the official play along. We'll get to that in a minute. I want to plant the seed in your head. This might be your first time playing on the offbeat, also known as the upbeat. If it's your first time doing it, it should feel a little strange. If you've done it a lot before, you're just itching for me to start the song. I get it. In general, you're going to be strumming either 4 or 8 times per chord. Like a lot of things, like a lot of songs, the numbers 2, 4, 8, 12, 16 show up a lot, especially in terms of rhythmic stuff and repetitive stuff. Okay, what else can I tell you? I realize that what you're looking at right now doesn't immediately tell you, like, well, how many times do I do this? And that's what the lyrics are there for, But if you are the type who likes to see everything written out, then that is why we have that version right there and that version right there. Okay, and so it's going to be all right. But the whole thing, that whole document is going to be uploaded to my website when the live stream is over, and then you can decide which version works for you. Okay, I think I've said everything I'm going to say. I'm going to keep tapping my foot because I figure it can't hurt. It might not be super audible. Can you guys kind of hear that a little bit? Figure it can't hurt. Okay, you ready to do this? I'll see you on the other side. I'll vamp on the A chord to get us started. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be all right. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be all right. Rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun. 3 little birds pitch by my doorstep, singing sweet songs, melodies pure and true. This is my message to you. Singing, don't worry about a thing, every little thing gonna be all right. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be all right. Rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun. 3 little birds pitch by my doorstep, singing sweet songs, melodies pure and true, saying, this is my message to you. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be all right. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be all right. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be all right. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be all right. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be all right. Okay, ramped up the strumming a little bit towards the end. The first variation I finally did towards the very end was a quick down up. So instead of, I did, okay, and just to reiterate something I said earlier, my upstroke was really just glancing off, glancing across maybe 2 strings, 3 strings. And then just for the fun of it, I went from to, and I realize it's subtle. I could just say to you, oh, I just started doing down ups. Yes, but there's some subtle stuff going on there. Okay, in case you're curious. Okay, with the understanding that during an A chord, you're not supposed to strum the fat string, right? In general. Okay. What I did, I think, towards the end right there, I was doing a down up, focusing on really the 5th, 4th, and 3rd strings, followed by a down up on approximately the 3 treble strings. Check out the texture that we're getting now. I mean, that's some subtle stuff. So even though someone might say, oh, I was doing down ups at the end, that's true. But if your ear picked up on that little subtlety, yeah, there's some subtle stuff going on there. By the way, again, like I said at the beginning, I'm holding the pick so loosely, right on the edge of dropping it. I'm trying to keep my arm loose as a goose. About a thing. I'm emphasizing the second down up. Soft, loud, soft, loud, soft. That's in keeping with the song, with the actual guitar playing. That's bop, bop, soft, loud. When this originally it was like nothing loud, right? Bop, bop. But now it's soft, loud, soft, loud. If I were playing this just no other musician's backyard barbecue, I'd be more likely to do this just to fill out the sound on an acoustic guitar. If there's other musicians, bass, drums, whatever else going on, keyboard, then I'd be more likely to do that right there. Options is all about knowing your options. Okay, so if you guys are good, I'm good with that. Everything, all of that whole document will be uploaded to my website very soon. I'm going to pause for the cause, take a sip of cider. Don't go anywhere. You know, from the apple trees of Leominster, Massachusetts. New England apple products. That's who I need to sponsor the show, man. So, as you know, when the show's over, I fill out the description of the live stream with timestamping and links, and I go over to my website and upload these different PDFs to my website. You got the idea. Okay, questions, comments. I am here for your questions. Whether you have a question about what we just did or about anything guitar related, put your question in the chat with a bunch of question marks. I'm going to check off a couple of things here. Okay, we did that one. We did that one. Okay, now is as good a time as any to point out the obvious. The holiday season is far enough away that if you got yourself the Christmas songbook and started working on Christmas songs, if that is the holiday you celebrate, now would not be a bad time to start, so that by the time Christmas rolls around, you can play some of the songs from this book. Available right there, song-bike.com. Also, something worth thinking about. You guys know I love the version of Autumn Leaves in this book, and it's autumn. So if you are so inclined to play seasonal music, Autumn Leaves is one of 30 chord melody arrangements in this book, also available from my website, song-bike.com. Both of these books are PDFs that you get instantly, just like that. Randy says the PDFs are super handy on the website. I sometimes just wander in and pick a random one to play with. Fun. Randy, that's awesome. That's great. Beginning Guitar Lessons is our moderator. His name is in blue, and he's encouraging you to like what we're doing here today. Can I like it? Can I like my own? I don't think I can like my own. I usually like it after the fact. I don't think I can like myself right now. I do like myself. I don't know if I can like myself. I digress. Other things that we should talk about today. Tough love. Let's get into our tough love. The tough love, one of the tough love things I want to share with you as a teacher is not as tough as you might be afraid it's going to be. Grace period. Let's talk about grace periods. When you start something new, whether it's your teacher handing you something or you get it out of a book or whatever, for heaven's sake, give yourself a grace period. That means you're going to want to play it through a couple of times. You're going to want to spend a couple of practice sessions with the thing before you beat yourself up. There's a grace period, okay? It's always frustrating for me as a teacher when a student has spent a total of 42 seconds on something and is already frustrated and when I know that it's not something that's out of the student's reach, but they're already beating themselves up. So keep in mind that you deserve it. You deserve a grace period, except that you're going to sound kind of bad for a minute or for a day or for a week. I don't know, but give yourself a little break, okay? Is that tough love? Actually, it's not really tough love. It's the opposite, just love, okay? Grace period. Whatever you're currently working on, whatever you're going to work on tomorrow, some new stuff, give yourself a break, No one expects you. I'll put it this way. If you were great at something on your first try, that's nice. Clearly, it's not going to directly make you a better guitar player, right? Hey, Chaz, thank you for your super chat. I appreciate that. So one more tough love thing. If you were thinking about running a marathon, your brain knows pretty much what to do, right? Don't stop for 26.2 miles. You train a little bit every day. You run 1 mile. You build up. The day comes, you run 26.2 miles. Life is good. I bet we have some marathon runners in the chat, right? Your brain basically gets it, right? Just because your brain gets it doesn't mean your body's going to be able to do it without some training. You get where I'm coming from? Can you read my mind here? Same thing with any physical skill, including playing the guitar. There's comprehension and then there's execution. So comprehension is huge, right? Do you understand what is in front of you? Do you understand what the challenges are? Do you have a plan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? That's your brain. That's think about the marathon. That's, making up your mind to do it, getting your ducks in a row, come up with a plan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Getting your body to do it and to accomplish it, to do all the training. It always seemed to me like a marathon was almost like a party. It's like you did all that training, maybe all by yourself or mostly by yourself. The marathon, you get to do it without people clapping for you, handing you oranges, handing you cups of water. It's like, well, now it's a party, So I want you to remind yourself two very different processes, right? The brain part and then the physical doing it part. Many people feel this disconnect. They can't believe that their dumb old fingers won't do the thing that their brain totally understands. That's like wondering why your legs can't run a marathon. Just keep running for 26.2 miles, right? Just keep doing it. That you run a marathon. Not that simple, right? Not that simple. Anybody know the what happened to the first marathon runner? I mean, the first marathon runner. If you know what happened to the first, I mean, I shouldn't laugh. It's tragic. I'm giving it away. The first marathon runner going back to Greece, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. I'm DAC Poet says, I get what you're talking about. I just started a new piece this week. There you go. So number one, give yourself a grace period, and then number two, do all the brain stuff and just accept that the body stuff is a whole separate process, and that's okay. That's as it should be, Okay, check. We're not done by a long shot, but check. I have, we're getting there. Okay, there's still plenty of time for you to ask a question to me. Do you know Vic Flick? Vic Flick. Do you know Vic Flick? Yeah, you know Vic Flick. Vic Flick just came across my attention. He passed away, I believe, back in 2024. So I missed, I'm pulling up a link here. There we go. He passed, Vic Flick, passed away November 14 of 2024. I just learned of his accomplishments, and I thought I would share it with you. And that leads us to a combination of two segments. The segment I call Do You Know? And another WTF weekly teaching feature. So check this out. Vic Flick did a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. And we're going to walk in his footsteps. He was an English studio guitar player, playing many, many recording sessions. And what I'm looking for, come on now, is, there we go. Bada boom, bada bing. Okay. So let's share this first. Vic Flick. At the moment, I'm just going to pull up his Wikipedia page. Again, if your screen goes black, don't even worry about it. If you can see what I see, can you see what I see? He's the guy who played the James Bond theme, which I'm going to teach you in a moment. Vic Flick, who else did he play with? What else did he do besides the James Bond theme? Now, I'm going to scroll up here. But this Wikipedia link will be in the description of this live stream. Played with Dusty Springfield, Nancy Sinatra, Cliff Richard, Shirley Bassey. That's him playing 12-string guitar on A World Without Love. See that? He played on What's New Pussycat. He played on Downtown by Petula Clark. He played on the soundtrack of the Beatles movie Hard Day's Night. Played with Paul McCartney. See all this? Those are some credits, man. And okay, so I'm scrolling up to these musical credits. Engelbert Humperdinck, Burt Bacharach. Look at that, man. He was of his time. Those are some great things on your resume. He was even on the show Pawn Stars, because his one of his famous guitars was sold on that show. I don't know too much about Pawn Stars. I watched a little bit of the episode that he was in. Anyways, okay. So Vic Flick. Now you know a little bit about Vic Flick. So what I'm going to do here is let's use this opportunity. Boom, boom. To get a little picking workout here. Boom, boom. With a James Bond theme song. Now, he did not write this. He's the guy playing it, the original. I'm going to play it for you. All right, so if you've heard the original theme, that was Vic Flick. Okay, so hopefully you can see that okay on the screen right there. As a teacher, what I like about this is that flick of the wrist, no pun intended, where it says rat-a-tat. Some of the, there's lots of opportunities to do any downstroke or upstroke that you want. I indicated the downs and the ups that I feel are life or death. The very first 4 notes, down, down, up, down. That is crucial. The notes that come after that, you can make an argument for downs, ups, whatever, but please, please, please go down, down, up, down. Quick reminder, what looks like a box kind of symbol means a downstroke, and what looks like a V means an upstroke. How about with your fretting hand, how about use your index finger on the 2nd fret, middle finger on the 3rd fret? That could work. Or you could use your middle and ring and save your index for the I'll leave it up to you. But to play in first position, so the middle and the ring are playing those 2s and 3s. That's pretty logical. And then saving your index finger for the 1s. Yeah. Again, I could see an argument either way. I'm shifting. It's better. Okay. So again, as a teacher, I like the fact that it requires that flick of the wrist, that what I'm calling a rat-a-tat. Whether you're playing acoustic or electric, I encourage you to pick back towards the bridge back here to get a good twang. Now, I bet even though I'm using a humble Shure SM57 mic, the indestructible, lovable SM57, I bet you can still hear the tonal difference between, say, plucking up towards the sound hole and plucking back towards the bridge. Sound hole, bridge. So cool, right? You're EQing the guitar, right? Just by where you play. And the same thing's true on electric as well. So personally, I'd like to get a nice little twang on this song by going back towards the bridge. Okay, kind of an easy thing. The first 2 lines are identical. I just wrote it twice to fill up the paper. The 3rd line is almost the same as the first 2, but it has that little walk down, that, which leads immediately to the 4th line before the whole thing repeats. Okay, so there you go. Vic Flick. He's the guy you've been hearing all these years, passed away about a year ago. And but you've been hearing him in all those other songs as well, right? And who knows how many that weren't mentioned on that list. Okay, so there you go. And again, I will put PDF up on my website very shortly. The The description of this live stream will also have a link to Vic Flick, an article on Vintage Guitar Magazine, and the episode of Pawn Stars. If you're a Pawn Star fan and you want to hear about, it's not the episode, it's more like a YouTuber who did his commentary on the episode on whether or not they offered him a fair price for his guitar and so on. It was a 1961 Stratocaster. So those links will all be in the description of this video. Okay, check. Hey, you want to follow me on Instagram or Facebook? Why not? Do a search for the term SongBike, all one word, SONGBIKE on Instagram or Facebook. You'll find me, and then just give me a follow. And I like to think I don't post too often, and I don't post stuff that's irrelevant, except my first grade photograph. Just wait till you see my kindergarten photograph. But other than your random photograph like that, it's mostly guitar related stuff. Okay, we're getting so close to the ultimate ear training trick, one string to rule them all. Don't go anywhere. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else. Got it. If there's anything else I haven't mentioned. Okay, let's do it. Ear training. What even is ear training? What does it mean? Ear training is it involves listening closer than the average person. It involves recognizing sounds. Here involves labeling, naming sounds as you recognize them. There we go. Okay. Boom, boom. Okay, there we go. Okay. Randy, thank you for your super chat. I appreciate that. Super chats are how you can support this live stream. Some of you have been here for the whole 90 minutes, so you heard me say this earlier. Just click on that $sign down at the bottom of the page, and I thank you in advance. Okay, so one string to rule them all. That's my dad joke. One ring to rule them all from Lord of the Rings. Okay, so what do we have going on here? The whole point of this page is to begin to recognize scale tones and, quote, wrong notes, So I chose to begin this on in the world of E for two big reasons. We got the skinny E string. Why not, whatever we're about to do, why not do it on the skinny E string, the first string, and also the E major chord, perfectly easy chord. So we're going to be jumping back and forth as this goes on between notes on the skinny first E string and the E major chord. The reason we're going to be jumping back and forth is I want you to hear how different notes correspond, harmonize, blend, or do not harmonize and do not blend well with the E major chord. So what you're looking at the top of the page is the E major chord and then the E major scale. We're going to be talking a little bit about music theory and then also about training your ear. The two things go hand in hand because, again, it's not just about how good a listener you are. You also want to know, oh, that's the third scale degree. That's the octave. That's the flat 7. You want to be able to recognize those and name them. Okay. Using any fingers that you would like, please play those first 8 notes at the top of the page on the skinny string. 0, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, 12. Play them backwards. Interestingly, if and when you play a wrong note, your ear tells you instantly. Isn't that amazing? You might never have played that group of notes ever in your life. But trust me, if you play 6 or 10 or 1, any number that's not reflected there, I bet you another cider that your ear tells you instantly. That I'll never get over that. For many of us, the Western European music, the major scale is major. It's everything. And when you play a wrong note during a major scale, our ear rejects that before we even have time to form a thought about what just happened. Your ear says, stop, Don't do that. Isn't that wild? Okay, so we have 8 notes. The names are up above: E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. Do not let the names freak you out. I want you to notice a few things, though. Notice that it starts on E and ends on E. Not a shock, right? It's an E major scale. Not a shock that it begins on E and ends on E. I say this because you have common sense. You're an adult, right? So you know more than you think you do. You might think, oh, what a bunch of random notes. But pretty quickly you accept that, oh, well, I guess I accept that it starts on E and ends on E. That part I get, right? Notice how it uses every letter of the musical alphabet. Ignore the sharp part. What comes after E? F. What comes after F? G. E, F, G. It's alphabetical because the musical alphabet doesn't go on to H, I, J, K. After G comes A, because that's the musical alphabet. A is the next letter after G. Once you get to that A, look how alphabetical it is. A, B, C, D, E. Now I know those sharp signs. For the moment, ignore the sharp signs. There's little hashtags. I'm just pointing out, it's not a coincidence that what you're looking at is essentially the musical alphabet from E to the next E. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. Okay, the other thing I want you to notice is how sometimes you jump up 2 frets, like 0 to 2. That's known as a whole step. 2 frets is a whole step. Sometimes you jump up only 1 fret, from 4 to 5. That's known as a half step. So whole steps and half steps. That's how everybody else talks about music. Guitar players talk about frets, but guess what? Trumpet players, saxophone, flute, piano, they don't talk about frets, right? They just talk about the more proper musical term, whole steps and half steps. So what you look at there is a certain combination of whole steps and half steps that results in the pleasing sound of the major scale. If we were to talk about any other kind of scale, blues scale, it would not be the same combination of whole steps and half steps. If it were, it would sound like a major scale. A blues scale has its own combinations of whole steps and half steps that can be replicated and duplicated and repeated, and will always have a bluesy sound. The combination you're looking at right there, you could play that combination on any string, and it would still have that classic major scale sound. I'll give you an example. I'm going to do that exact combination, 0 up to 12, on my A string. Because that combination of numbers sounds like some kind of major scale, no matter what string you played on. By the way, the name of the scale will be named after whatever the string is called. I just played the A major scale. Okay, so now let's get into it. What we're about to do now is get your ear used to combining these notes. What does it mean to, I'm going to scroll up a little bit and make it a little bit bigger. You know, scales are nice. When we start grouping notes from the scale, we get some very cool results. The E major chord played as an arpeggio. Arpeggio just means one note at a time. Now you might say, that's not an E major chord. An E major chord is when you strum like this. And today is the day when you learn that the E major chord is a concept. It's not a grip. It's a concept. Piano players can play E major. Anybody can play E major chord. Some people have to play it as individual notes, say a trumpet, because they can't play all that at the same time. So 0, 4, 7, 12. Those are the notes of an E major chord. Happens to be an E, of course, and a G sharp, a B, and then I put in the high E at 12 just for good measure, just because it sounds like something has come to a logical conclusion. Okay, the E major chord. Now, the idea is for you to play that a bunch of times and begin to recognize it, because you're about to change one note. An E minor chord arpeggiated on the first skinny string. Watch out. What was a 4 is now a 3. Ah, it's a note that's not in the major scale. It's known as the flatted third. Coincidentally, happens to also be the 3rd fret. I'm kind of leaning into that 3rd fret note. Ooh. Now, I have no doubt that all of you can play that right there, 0, 3, 7, 12. I have no doubt. Good job. The question is, if someone played it for you and also played the 0, 4, 7, 12, could your ear hear that difference? Maybe. I bet it would. What if they mix up the notes though? What if they didn't play them in that linear kind of 0, 3, 7, 12? If they were dancing around and then suddenly played a 3, 3rd fret, or the 4th fret, and then kept going, would you be able to pick out, oh, I heard the 4th fret, so therefore the person is arpeggiating an E major chord. You know, I heard the 3rd fret, therefore they're arpeggiating E minor chord. Ooh, I don't know, you know. Okay, moving on to arpeggiate an E7 chord. The E7 chord is a 4-note chord. That's why we have not just the 0, not just the 4, not just the 7, but also the 10th fret. And again, I threw in the 12th fret for good measure, just the high E. For the moment, I'm going to stop on that 10. Anyone recognize that? What am I playing right there? If you recognize that riff from that famous rock song, then you are for sure going to be able to recognize E7 arpeggios or any 7 arpeggio, as long as it's played like that, right? This is where being an adult doing this kind of stuff is so hugely helpful, because you have these reference points. Trust me, a 9-year-old does not know that I just essentially played the riff from Oh, Pretty Woman. You got to say Oh, Pretty Woman, because I believe that's the legal name of the song, Oh, Pretty Woman. It's a guitar teacher's dream, because we get to talk about this 7th chord arpeggio, but it's a recognizable thing. It's not purely academic, right? It's like, oh yeah, Pretty Woman. Pretty Woman is based on a 7th chord arpeggio. Now I know there's more to the riff, but you know, that's the heart of it right there. Okay, so again, if you heard someone dancing around, improvising with those notes, 0, 4, 7, 10, and then maybe the high 12 as well, would you be able to recognize, oh wait, that person essentially is outlining, describing, arpeggiating an E7 chord? Yeah, Chaz, you know it. Pretty Woman. Rock Lobster, you know it. Pretty Woman. Right? So see how we're training your ear? We're training your ear not just to recognize something, but to give it a name, to make note of anomalies, right? Notice that 10? That 10 on the skinny first string is not in the major scale. What? I thought the whole point was to play those notes in the major scale. The major scales are a starting point, right? As it often is. So when you throw in a note that is not in the major scale, you get an effect. This is chemistry, right? You add an ingredient, cause and effect, right? Something happens. You get Pretty Woman. You take out that ingredient, it's not Pretty Woman. What if I did, just for fun, if I played 9 instead of 10? It's nice, but now that's how you write songs. You take Pretty Woman, you change a note. I mean, I don't know. Like, to me, that doesn't sound like Pretty Woman at all anymore. It is totally different. We got a new song, man. Somebody write a song with that riff. You can change the rhythm. You can mess around with it. It's so close to Pretty Woman, but so wrong, right? Imagine if you were playing in a bar with your friends and you start doing the Pretty Woman riff and you hit 9 instead of 10, you'd be mortified. It's so wrong, right? That's how original it would be to play 9 instead of 10. Is it okay to play 9 instead of 10 in general? Sure, 9 is part of the major scale, right? Nothing wrong with it. You wouldn't have to explain to anybody. Just don't call it Oh, Pretty Woman. Call it your song. Write that song, man. You could mix up the order of notes. They don't have to go in that order. You could start on the 9. 9, 9, 4, 7, 0. See, this is where a little music theory, stealing someone else's stuff, you know, who knows? RB says it is no longer Pretty Woman. Still attractive, perfectly reasonable, just not that human being. Okay, so now we're going to move on in a second, because there is a second page to this. See what you got here? An E6 chord. Oh, there's that 9 right there. Why is it called an E6? Could also be called an E major 6, because 9 is, wait for it, the 9 right there, that note C sharp. It's the 6th note of the E scale. So an arpeggio, that includes that note, not a shock that it would be, the name would reflect the inclusion of that note in E6. Sometimes you hear people say E major 6, but E6 implies the major notion of it, you know? An E suspended 4, see that one right there? E suspended 4. What's up with a suspended name? Well, check it out. We got a 5. We never had a 5 until this moment. 5. Okay, what's up with the 5? There it is right there. Okay, now I'm going to throw a bunch of numbers at you. Oh, God, here it goes. The 5th fret is the 4th note of an E major scale. I'll say it again. When you play that note at the 5th fret, you are playing the 4th note of an E major scale, the note A. I know, talking about 4s and 5s. The 4th fret note is the 3rd note of the scale. That note is super important. That G sharp is super important. It's a note that makes it an E major scale or an E major chord. Well, guess what? We're playing that 5 instead. We are suspending reality. The one note that made it major isn't there anymore. We're playing its neighbor. We're playing its neighbor instead. How does it sound? Doesn't sound bad. Why does it not sound bad? Because that 5th fret note, the note A, is still part of the major scale, but by omitting the one note, the 4th fret G sharp, that one note that gives it the major identity, and replacing it not with the minor note, the 3rd fret, but replacing it with a totally different note, the 5th fret A note, it's no longer major, it's no longer minor. We have suspended the identity, the personality of the chord. So I'm going to ask you the same question. If someone was arpeggiating that chord, 0, 5, 7, 12, would you recognize that's the suspended version, that it's not major or minor, that it's suspended? Would you recognize that? Maybe. Imagine doing ear training exercises like this, including this, beyond this, so that you could just recognize, oh yeah, that's the suspended sound. You know, oh, that's a very cool goal. There's a ear training app that I use on my Samsung phone called Perfect Ear. I don't use it often. I intend to use it often. I don't know if Perfect Ear is available for you iPhone folks, but that's one that I like. There's lots of ear training apps out there. Okay, one last one. The E major 7 chord. Grand Funk Railroad. Thank you to those of you who pointed out that sound, the major 7 arpeggiated kind of sound. I couldn't remember what song that was reminding me of, and it's that Captain song by Grand Funk Railroad, and several of you helped me out with that, and I appreciate that. So I still keep coming back to that Grand Funk Railroad melody from that Captain song when I hear that. So I just say to myself, if someone does an arpeggio and it makes me think of Grand Funk Railroad, I know it is an E, well, it's some kind of major 7 arpeggio. By the way, why is it called major 7? And the one above it is called just 7th chord. It has to do with playing a note that is in the scale. The 11, I'm going to scroll way up now. The 11 is a legitimate note in the E major scale. It's the 7th degree of the E major scale. Whereas the 10 would be known as the flatted 7th. We'll talk more about that in a second. So if you have the flatted 7th note, the chord you're arpeggiating is known as a 7th chord, an E7. You could say E dominant 7 if you want to sound educated. Whereas if you just play the 7th degree of the scale, which in this case is 11 right there, if you just play that, it's called an E major 7. So believe it or not, there's a difference between E7 and E major 7, and you're looking right at it right there. Okay, now this is going to be quick, so don't go anywhere. Scroll. Okay, and I'm going to make this, well, I'll leave it like that. There's a little more at the bottom. So here's how you begin. Yeah, Marley Bond, thank you there. Closer to Home, also known as the Captain's Song. Yeah, from Grand Funk Railroad, which their name, where they were in Michigan as a young band, there's something called the Grand Trunk Railroad, I believe, and they were calling themselves that, and the railroad said you can't name yourself after our railroad, so they were forced to do a much better name, the Grand Funk Railroad. Now, don't quote me on that, but I believe it was the Grand Trunk, and they changed it to Grand Funk. It's a better name, right? So sometimes things work out. Okay, so what we're about to do now, this is getting into ear training. Okay, this is not a big song. You take each one of these little measures, each one of these boxes, and you get your ear accustomed to the tension, the relationship between the E major chord. That's that stack of numbers, the E major chord. I should have put a big letter E up above it. I guess I didn't. The E major chord, and a note that is definitely not in the E major scale. That one on the skinny string. Now, what you're hearing there is this tension. Makes you think a shark is coming for you, right? Gonna bite your leg off. So now you're training your ear to identify the sound of a major chord being followed by the flat 2, meaning the flatted second degree of the scale. Remember, the first degree is just the open E. DAC Poet says it sounds weird. It definitely sounds weird. It's a, quote, wrong note, right? Very dramatic sound. You can see, take a look at the sheet. You can see there's a pattern. In every box, you strum the E chord and you play a note, either a note that's from the E major scale, like that second measure, it's 2 on the first string, or a note that's not in this scale, such as the 1 on the first string. You begin, number 1, you're going to be listening more closely than you might usually listen. Number 2, you got some names to work with, such as 2, flat 3, 4, flat 5. Meanwhile, it's reinforcing the concept of a major scale up and down the neck, including, quote, wrong notes. Check out this. I'm playing 3 on the first string. Now, no matter how you feel, maybe you think something sounds kind of bad. I'm not going to argue with you, but watch out, because your ear eventually gets used to stuff, and what sounds nasty at first might not sound so bad. It might. I'm just saying, don't be surprised. I'll tell you what, if I were to try to sell you on that note, I'd say that 3rd fret note happens to be the note G. It's the flatted 3rd degree of the E major scale. It's a bluesy note. Now, when I sell it to you that way, it might not sound as bad as it did a second ago. It sounds like a guy strumming an E major chord with this bluesy, addition. Baby, please don't go. Baby, please don't go. Please don't you go down to New Orleans. You know I love you so. All of a sudden, we're up and running. We got something. It has a value all of a sudden, right? It used to be just, but now it's, words escape me. Okay, so my challenge for you, I'm gonna zoom out a little bit here. You want to take these slowly. Notice we're not even done with the whole page. I'm gonna call it, because it's time for us to wrap up. But don't rush through these. That you won't give your ear a chance to process it. It's just too much. Plus, towards the end, you're jumping way up high, jumping up to 7, jumping up to 8. So it's harder to get back to the E chord and so on, but that's okay. You don't want to, but keep your ears open and notice how the 8th fret note sounds different than the 9th fret note. If you're like me, it takes a bunch of repetition to sort of, notice the similar, to get used to the relationship there. I'm definitely not trying to tell you these are all good sounds. Some of them are not, and although everything has its place, right? Here's one way to know if something is not going to sound so great. If you see the little flat sign or sharp sign next to it, the flat sign looks like a lowercase b, the sharp sign looks like a hashtag. Those, it's mostly going to sound a little rough, but not all the time. The flat 3 was that bluesy one. The flat 2 is the one that sounds like Jaws. The flat 7 at the bottom of the page, that's that Pretty Woman note. I don't know. So you could argue, well, the flat 5 and the sharp 5, those are going to sound a little rough for most of us. Okay, so there you go. An opportunity to connect. I'm going to stop. To connect your ear, your music theory, your fingers jumping around. I recommend using your pinky to, especially the higher frets, the 5, the 7, the 8, using your pinky to jump up there. Okay, to be continued, right? There's a lot going on there. One of our WTF features of the week, weekly teaching feature. I got that, by the way. I was inspired to do that based on a book that I've been reading about guitar soloing. And the book challenged the reader to solo using only one string. And in doing so, it was likely that you were going to solo differently, but also be much more thoughtful about the notes you're playing, naming the notes, thinking ahead of time, instead of falling into a finger pattern, like say doing a closed pentatonic scale, closed position. You potentially might be processing the music theory, like when I'm in the key of D and I want to solo and I want to get a bluesy sound. So where are my blues notes if all I have is the one string? Whatever I was doing right there is not what I would have played if I was playing a 6-string E blues scale. I'm sure I would have played something okay, but it made me think a little bit. I had to think. I couldn't just play blindly or fall into patterns. Okay, how you guys doing? I think we did what we set out to do. You learned something? I know I learned something just in the prep that I do for these live streams. All right. Lots going on. We got big rain coming tomorrow here in Connecticut. So if I don't float away, I will see you guys next Saturday. Randy says, thanks for another great show and lesson. Wishing everyone a terrific week. Randy, I wish you the same. I'm going to say some good nights, you guys. Good night, Randy, DAC Poet, Marlon Bond, Debbie, Rock Lobster, RB, Chaz, Beginning Guitar Lessons. Thank you for being here. Who else do I see still in the chat? Charlie Beagle, thank you for being here. Chaz, Dandy Dave, if you're still here. RB, okay. Barry, thank you for being here. Roeth, thank you for being here. Omar, thank you for being here. Pooba John, M. Fish. All right, Barry. Did I say Barry? All right, you guys. Pooba John, yep, I gotcha. Okay, I think I got everybody. Thank you for watching. Let's do this all again next week. We'll have some fun. I got to everything I wanted to do this week, so guess what? I don't know what we're going to do next week, but it has a way of working out. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, head on over to song-bike.com. You can become a member and get access to all sorts of great PDFs plus videos. While you're there, hey, get yourself something for free. The Blues Guide. Free. Everybody, you don't have to be a member. Put in your email address, and this comes to you instantly as a PDF, the SongBike Blues Guide. Why not? There's other stuff that is for sale, merch, and other PDFs, other books, all sorts of stuff. And just become a member, and you can access the videos and the PDFs that I keep talking about. All right, you guys, thank you for watching. My weekend begins now. I'll see you next Saturday. Take care, everybody.